tomorrow.
Okay, so first thing, guys, that we have is I guess a little bit of a change in schedule. You guys have a mass to attend next Tuesday, it looks like, and so the schedule was supposed to be like this. So we're going to finish up reading Oedipus this week, and then Monday I'm going to show you guys a little bit of I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a critical introduction to the assignment you'll be doing. So I'll give you guys some examples. And then Tuesday and Wednesday were supposed to be days you guys can work on your assignment and then finish it for Thursday. We do a formal conclusion on Thursday because I know that since time immemorial, since the very beginning of time, no high school student, especially in grade 12, wants to come to school the day before break. So I figured that nobody would be here, or very few people would be here on the Friday, so I was just going to have like nobody's sick on Friday. I was just going to have an informal day where you guys, everybody here seems to be very interested in talking about uni, and I can give you guys at least all of my knowledge and perspective on a few different areas in university. It was supposed to just be a chill day where we can talk about that.
Now we have to talk.
No.
We'll have to see. I mean, we can make a couple of compromises. Either, because the assignment has to be done all in class.
Is there Monday night the assignment then?
So Monday I'll be introducing the assignment to you guys, and
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we can't do.
I mean, I'll put it this way: the assignment that you guys will be doing, guys. So the assignment that you guys will be doing is, like I said yesterday, you're going to have to choose a character or a theme or an idea, and then find one word that really helps progress it along in the play.
One word in the play?
Just one word.
In the play, though?
In the play, yeah. So it has to be something that somebody says in the play, one word that is really expressive of either their character or a theme that's discussed in the play. You find some quotes that have that word, make a poster, then you do a quick one-page. One word.
Like not a sentence.
Not a sentence.
One word.
If you guys want to know the inspiration for this, it's actually an assignment that I took from my undergrad, but instead of writing a one-page, 250-word summary, we had to write a 1,000-word essay on one word in a short story. So I'm trying to make it a little bit easier for you guys. You guys just have to write one page, 250 words, and it's not. I'll put it this way. That's what Monday's going to be. I'm going to show you two examples of essays that have actually done this. And it's not as tough as you guys might think it is right now. I know that it seems like, okay, how am I going to get 250 words out of one word? You know? Not to be sacrilegious, but you could say it's kind of like how Jesus fed the masses with the loaves and the fish. You guys are going to take one word, and you're just going to keep pulling out of it until you have 250 words in an essay. Anyway, so that's what we have kind of planned for next week. We'll roll with it as we go. So let's do a quick recap for yesterday. Okay? So here's what I'd like. So everybody take out a scrap piece of paper. You know what this means? A scrap piece of paper and a writing utensil. Yeah, use half. Like, you're not going to need a whole piece of paper.
You can use the other half.
I have to give it to Shanaika.
You guys need this?
I'll swing it to Shanaika.
So doesn't Sarah need one? I'll take that one. I have no idea what it is. Oh, I don't know. It's time for people's presentation.
Is Miss Lima, is that yours?
No, there's no Kayla in this class.
No, the other.
Okay, guys, so on this piece of paper, what you guys are going to
There
do...
is time.
She teaches 3 different periods.
I know.
Guys, come on. We don't have a lot of time to be messing around today, okay? So what I need you guys to do is remember your characters. So who's this group right here? Oedipus.
It's okay.
Chorus. Ashley, who's your character?
We are.
Very good. So, in your rows, what you guys are going to do, we read the prologue yesterday, we read scene 1. I want you guys to write down, you guys are going to have 3 minutes, again, 3 minutes to get everything you can. Think about your character yesterday, think about what happened, and think about their state of mind. So you guys had Tiresias. What did he say? What was his state of mind in the sections we read? You guys have the chorus. What did the chorus say? What were they trying to explain? Oedipus, what was his development? Creon, what was his? You guys will have 3 minutes. Okay? So start thinking. 3 minutes at the 45-second mark, so get ready. So again, it's like a recap, and it's getting into the mind of your character. Okay? This will help you for your assignment. Okay? 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, 1 minute is up, 2 minutes to go. So try to get into the mind, okay, what their motivations are, what their state of mind is here. This writing assignment will help you out for the assignment because that's when you're going to have to discuss how these motivations are expressed through a single word. So these are notes for you guys to keep track of everything. Try to think back to the analogy that I was developing yesterday. So you have Oedipus, who's a hero. He's cured cancer for everyone. You have Creon, who might be jealous of that fact. Tiresias might also be jealous. The chorus, that's like everybody else. Are they happy? Are they sad? Are they worried? Okay, 1 minute to go, guys. Okay, 20 seconds. Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so got the mental juices flowing. Let's do a quick recap before we plunge into the next two scenes today. So, Tiresias group, what can you tell me about what happened yesterday? So the actual plot, what was happening, and what was Tiresias thinking? Who wants to get us started there? Megan? Okay. Okay, so he's saying that he knows about Apollo's prophecy. Does anyone else in the Tiresias group want to add anything? What did Tiresias end up saying yesterday? What was his big contribution to this mystery? Does anybody remember? What does Tiresias say?
What are you going to say?
What's that? He accused Oedipus, that's right. So Oedipus is nervous. They call Tiresias because he's supposed to be this prophet. He's supposed to know what Apollo says. And Tiresias comes and he keeps trying to push Oedipus away. He's like, no, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say anything. Oedipus gets really upset. He accuses Tiresias of being the one who killed Laius, right? And Tiresias is like, you know what? Screw you. You're the one who killed Laius. So it's exposed that it's actually Oedipus who's probably the prime suspect as the killer of Laius, the former king. So that's what Tiresias says yesterday. He also says, what else did he say? He kind of gives another prediction, or he puts almost like a curse on Oedipus. Pat, what were you thinking?
I think it was like something about like him knowing about him and his mother.
That's right. He says, by the end of the day, you'll know who your father is, and it'll break your heart.
Oh,
So we have a couple things going on here. So it says that this play has been described as the first murder mystery, right? Because it does kind of read that way. It's like, okay, there's a mystery. Who killed the king? And, Oedipus kind of is the detective who's walking through step by step to see who it was who did it. Okay, chorus. Who wants to tell us about the chorus from yesterday? Christina? What do you got?
First was like everyone else in the play,
Mhm.
and then the beginning of disease. We all believe like that Oedipus is their leader or whatever.
Yep.
Like their
Good
savior.
save. Yeah, beautiful.
But then like starting like towards the end where Tiresias came and was telling them how Oedipus was not their hero, I guess. They started to lean towards more him, but then still ended up being with Oedipus because he was the one who saved them in the first place.
Yeah, nice. Anybody in the chorus group want to add anything? So remember yesterday we talked about the chorus. So in your translation here, this is another reason why I chose this, because it actually breaks it up. You have your strophe and your antistrophe. These are songs that the chorus sings at the end of each scene, right? You have the strophe, which is one idea, so they're on this side of the stage when they sing it, and then they move to the other side when they have the other idea. So sometimes it kind of looks like a mind that's in battle with itself. What was the really big problem, the tension that the chorus was being ripped apart by yesterday? Does anybody remember?
Was it like whether or not they should trust Oedipus? Is he really
Responsible for all this, or was like Tiresias what he said? It was just out of anger and he was just a madman.
Well, what's at stake? What's at stake if Oedipus is right and Tiresias is wrong? Griffin. That's right. It means that the gods are wrong, that they have nothing to believe in, right? So let's think about it. So they're saying that the only way to get out of this is to listen to what Apollo says. But if Apollo's been proven wrong, not only are the gods discredited, but they also are back to square one. They have no way of getting out of this play. So that's on the one hand. But what's the stake if Tiresias is right?
and Oedipus is screwed?
And Oedipus is screwed. And they're all kind of screwed too, because this is their king. This is their savior, right? So the chorus is really ripped apart by this, right? Okay, so Oedipus group. Calvin, what did you come up with?
I said that Oedipus was in a water state when he was like trying to figure out who killed Elias when Creon brought that topic up to him.
Okay, anybody want to add anything? Pat?
He feels compelled to save the city once again because he's did it before, and now everyone's come to him like, "Oh, you're the greatest. Please help us." And he's like, now he's in such a position where he's like, "Yeah, I gotta do this now."
Fair enough. Keegan, do you have that?
I just want to add on to what Paul was saying, how he feels compelled to do this because, like we said, there's like a father-son relationship between Oedipus and the people of the city. He doesn't just see them as his constituents; he sees them as more than that, and that's why he feels like he needs to save them.
Right.
And that's why he's viewed as a hero in that manner.
Very good. Sarah, did you have something you want to
Oh
add?
yeah, because before all like I'm part of that, I just part I did Oedipus again. Well, I wanted to say that like he doesn't. I feel like he's blinded in a sense because like at the beginning of like the what we read yesterday, there was a part of dramatic irony where he said like he wanted the person who killed Elias dead.
Mhm.
Like he's kind of blinded because of all the success that he's having, and in a sense how he doesn't really take account of what he did in the past that could be affecting the present because he's blinded from all the fame that he received from defeating the things.
So Sarah has repeated a word about 3 or 4 times. Does anybody catch what word she kept saying?
Blind.
Interesting. Alan? Oh, so she said blind a bunch of times. Just an observation. So the one thing I also want to point out is that you have a little bit of a progression of Oedipus' character. At the beginning, remember he says, you guys might all be crying, but nobody here has cried as much as me because, well, you guys all just suffer individually. I suffer for everyone. So you have Oedipus really identifying with the whole city at the beginning. But then slowly he starts to become more focused on what? On himself, on his own guilt or innocence. We're going to get into this more today. But you have at the beginning, he's a man of the people. He doesn't, when Creon asked, "Do you want me to just tell you this privately between us?" He's like, "Nope, I want everybody to hear." Democracy group. Start thinking about that. So he starts off one way, man of the people. Everyone, they love him. He calls them their children. He's focused on their well-being. But then he starts to get a little bit touchy. Tiresias accuses him, and now he's like, everybody's out to get me. So it's going from the community inward, right? Good job, guys. Okay, finally, Creon. Let's go with Frank. What'd you write?
So it said Creon is the brother of Jocasta,
Yep.
the queen of the city of Thebes. And the beginner of the play, Oedipus sent Creon to go to the oracle of Delphi to ask what was the reason for the plague in Thebes. And when he returns, he explains to Oedipus why the city is under the plague. However, Oedipus suspects Creon to be trying to get rid of Oedipus, which is why Oedipus shows so much respect towards him, as he believes Creon was.
Okay, think of it this way, guys. So Laius is dead. Creon is Laius' son. Or no, wait a second. Yeah, no, his
His brother-in-law.
his brother-in-law. My mistake. Why was Creon not the one to become the king? So I mean, so Laius is dead, right? What's that?
Because they're not blood.
I mean, to be honest, in terms of like the actual
Succession.
the succession line, that's something that I'm not very familiar with. But I mean, it stands to reason that he should at least have had a chance.
Yeah.
But then this guy from another kingdom, he's not even as far as they know, he's not even a native guy from Thebes. Oedipus just comes in, solves this riddle, and they make him king.
It's a democracy. They chose him. No?
Interesting. Hold on to that because
Okay, yeah.
it's somewhat similar to that. I'll give you guys a little bit of a hint right now. This is one of the essays we're going to talk about, the word tyrant. So there's some translations of this play. So this play that we have right here translates the title as Oedipus Rex. Rex is a Latin word for king, roughly speaking. There are some that call this play Oedipus Tyrannus or Oedipus the Tyrant. When you guys think of tyrant, what do you think of nowadays? Good or bad, first of all?
Bad.
Bad. Anybody think tyrant is a good thing?
No.
Anybody know what tyrant means?
It sounds bad.
Sounds bad. Okay, what do you think? So tyrant, I'm thinking of a tyrant. Examples of tyrants. Who can
Kim
think?
Jong-un.
What's up?
Kim Jong-un.
Kim Jong-un is a tyrant.
I think the closest word you could associate it with would be dictator.
Okay, dictator, a tyrant. So, okay, I'll just briefly touch on this right now. So tyrant has a very specific meaning in ancient Greek times. So when you have a king, there are two types of kings. The one is called basileus, okay? That's like a monarch. So it's like that's a proper succession. I'm a king, I have a son, he becomes king. So everything's proper, he is basileus, he's the king.
It's kind of like today's in world, like the queen is the crown.
Yeah, so it's like everybody's in succession.
Okay.
A tyrant is somebody who comes in and he's not bound by this monarchical succession. He's just a guy who comes in and just becomes the king. Doesn't mean he's bad, doesn't mean he's good, but he is not bound by the same tradition as Basileus is. So when we think of a tyrant now, we think of a guy who takes all the power for himself and just kind of runs things in his own way. That's similar. I mean, that's the connection to this, but it doesn't necessarily mean in these terms that he's a bad person. It just means that he says screw it to all the rules, all the traditions. He's going to run it his own way. We'll connect that to democracy later on, but that's where I'm going with this. So Oedipus is a tyrant, technically speaking. He's Tyrannus, right? Because he's not Basileus. He's not in the proper succession, as far as we know. That's why this title is interesting, because by the end, Oedipus will have actually transitioned from a tyrant, from Tyrannus, into Basileus, because he was Laius' son. He is the proper king in the proper succession, right? But he doesn't know that at the beginning. So he's a tyrant right now, technically speaking. By the end of the play, he will be Basileus. And then he'll enjoy that title for about 3 seconds until he's taken out of that position. Do you have a question, Sarah?
No, it's good.
Okay. Anybody else want to add to Creon? Motivation, what is he saying, what is he doing? He doesn't do much.
Yeah.
He seems like kind of like friendly. Right now he seems kind of friendly.
Yeah.
Like he's doing this out of like love for his family because that's his brother-in-law.
Yeah.
So he's doing that. But then, yeah, it also makes sense that through Basileus he'd be the next king.
Mhm.
And this guy just walks in, takes it away from him. So
Yeah. So Oedipus is, so there's a book that I read. It's called Oedipus, Knowledge and Self-Conviction. It's written by a guy named Frederick All. He's an Oedipus scholar. And he argues that there isn't actually a lot of evidence by the end of this play. There's a good case to be made that this prophecy wasn't actually accurate. That Oedipus didn't kill Laius. That's the case that Frederick All makes. It's weird because everybody understands Oedipus to be a very certain legend. Frederick tries to make the point, it's like, no, there's a lot of evidence here that suggests that Oedipus wasn't guilty. One of the things that he says is, this is where we get into technical translations. Translation says what? When they say how was Laius killed, he said, or it was told that he was killed by a band, of highwaymen, more than one. Oedipus was by himself when he killed Laius, or when he killed this person. And so it's like, wait, was it multiple people or was it Oedipus? So that's one discrepancy. Another one that people have pointed out is, if you guys go back to it, when Oedipus asks Creon, what did the oracle say? Creon doesn't say, the oracle said X. He says, I heard, or I understood, or in my understanding, the oracle said Y. See what I'm saying? So there are not many people who are convinced by the case that Oedipus isn't guilty, but there is a case to be made, and you can find it in the text, right? Were you going to ask?
I'm gonna say that I think Creon's a bit like, I think he's too laid back right now. I feel like he's waiting for things to like stir up, and then after he's gonna come in. Rather than that, I feel like he's too friendly.
Too friendly. So we're all getting kind of paranoid, just like Oedipus. Like, man, everybody's out to get me. This blind old man. He even says that Tiresias might be in league with Creon. They're trying to work together to get the throne away from Oedipus, right? So yesterday I opened this up by saying that one of the things we can learn from reading literature is how to become responsible as individuals, right? And how I'm going to put that to you guys is that I started by saying, when you read a text, when you read something, when you experience anything, you become an individual insofar as you ask questions about it. So we ask a question. Is Oedipus guilty? Let's just say that. So that's our question. We go to the text to try to find our answers. Some people will find one answer, others will find different answers, right? So right now, don't take anything as granted, okay? Everything is still up in the air, including your own personal responses to this, including the questions that each group has. What's the theme in this group? Free will. Justice. Is what happens to Oedipus just? That's a question. Is Oedipus a hero? That's a question. Is Oedipus a good figure of democracy? Or what does the play say about democracy? That's a question. Is there such a thing as free will? Did Oedipus have any free will? If he did, what did he do with it? These are all questions. And the reason that this play is a classic is because it doesn't give you a straightforward answer. There are some works that we would call propagandistic. Propaganda. What do we understand by the word propaganda? What are some things that come up?
So, propaganda is usually used to convince people.
Convince people. Anybody else? What do you guys think of when you hear propaganda? Just the first thing that comes to your mind. Propaganda, I think of what? Politics. Flyer? Okay, like flyers, like pamphlets, yeah. So George Orwell, who I love and I've recommended before, he said that all art is propaganda. What he meant by that is that all art has a viewpoint that it tries to get across. Okay, he's also hedged that before. He says it a few times and then he kind of takes it back in other places. What we're going to talk about is whether or not this is propagandistic. If it has one viewpoint and is trying to convince you of it, doesn't matter what you think. Or if it leaves some room open for some interpretation for you guys as individuals to come in and make your own judgment. Personally, it seems to me that the great works of art that we study are the ones that are not propagandistic. They're the ones that leave a little bit of room for interpretation. So for example, King Lear. Is King Lear a good feminist text or not? Aisha and Allison had a disagreement. One said it was, one said it wasn't. It's not to say that, this is the way I usually put it. Just because there's more than one correct answer doesn't mean there's not a lot of wrong answers. How do you judge in an English class what is a wrong answer? It's anything that you don't have sufficient evidence for. So you can say that Oedipus has free will. Okay, fair enough. You can't say that Oedipus is a rabbit. That doesn't make any sense. You have no evidence for that claim, right? So when you guys are thinking about your answers, it's true that you guys can have completely different answers as another person. Fair enough. We judge who has a better response based on the amount of evidence from the text that they can bring to bear on their opinion. So this is an exercise we're doing with literature. Fine, okay, sir, we're never going to do this. Okay, it's fair enough. I don't know many people who sit around all night and write essays about English books. I do sometimes. However, in your own lives, you guys are going to make a claim about something. I think it's good to vote for this person. I say, well, why? Is it all just interpretation? Is it your claim is as good as anybody else's? Or do you guys have actual evidence and reasons to support your thinking, right? And when you guys start to get away from that, when you start to say, well, it's just what I think, screw it. Okay. Remember what we said yesterday, though. The responsibility exists to think certain things. Either you guys can take it and become responsible for what you think, or other people will take it for you and just tell you what to think. Fair enough? It's up to you guys. I don't know anybody here who would say that they want strings put on them, right? But I also don't know many people who are always constantly analyzing what they think, trying to disprove it, trying to find evidence for it, right? Those are people who really know how to think. They can challenge their own assumptions. Now, I don't have all the time in the world to do that. So another way that we can do it is we can outsource the problem. We discuss it with other people. I have a strong conviction. I want to make sure it's true and correct. The best way for me to test that is not to just find evidence that supports my own theory or idea. What's the best way to test if what I know is correct? Try and disprove it. One way you can do that is find somebody else who thinks something different and say, okay, make your best case to me. Can you convince me? Okay? So that's what I want you guys to be thinking about when we're doing this, because Oedipus is somebody who's pursuing the truth really to his own destruction. And the question is Oedipus somebody that we should be like or not? Okay, that's the question we're going to try to take away from this. Okay, with that preamble out of the way, we're going to read scenes 2 and 3. So Tiresias is gone. So the Tiresias group, you guys are now going to be reading the part of Jocasta. Okay? You guys are still the chorus, you guys are still Oedipus, and you guys are still Creon. Let's get some readers. Ida, you want to be Oedipus today? Sarah, oh, you made eye contact, you lost. Hasn't you weren't here yesterday, so I want you to be Jocasta. Do the reading. And, okay, Jeremy, you can be Creon. Okay, guys, so we're starting in scene 2. Okay, so it's going to begin with Creon. We set the stage. I want you all to bring your best dramatic reading voices. This video will be watched by 1 billion people in China. I see that our class is going to be trending by the end of the semester. Okay? If you guys want to break out, if you want to be the next Brad Pitt, he actually got his start reading Oedipus in an English class.
No.
Fun fact.
Oh, you're joking. Yo, sir, give me a part just now.
Okay.
I'm trying to read Brad Pitt.
It's true. It's true. When Brad Pitt was in high school, his teacher was videotaping their lectures, and they posted it on YouTube back in the day.
They didn't have YouTube
And
back then.
these are just the things that I hear, guys. I mean, what do you want from me?
It's still there.
What's that?
It's still there.
How gullible are you? They didn't have YouTube back then.
I think we have, so far in the video that I posted yesterday, we have one view, which I believe was my own when I posted it.
I viewed the last Friday.
Last Friday. There you go. Okay, so, Creon, Jeremy. Okay, guys, so, let's begin. Settle. Okay, and Jeremy.
Men of Thebes, I'm told that heavy accusations have been brought against me by King Oedipus. I'm not the kind of man to bear this taint. If in these present difficulties he holds me accountable for any harm to him through anything I have said or done, why then? I do not value life in this honor. It is not as though this rumor touched upon some private indiscretion. The matter is grave. The fact is that I am being called disloyal to the state, to my fellow citizens, to my friends.
Sarah?
Chiragos.
Is it late? Are we there?
He may have spoken in anger,
Not from his mind.
not from his mind.
I'm on the wrong. He may have spoken in anger, not from his mind.
But did you not hear him say I was the one who seduced the old prophet into lying?
The thing was said. I do not know how seriously.
But you were watching him. Were his eyes steady? Did he look like a man in his right mind?
I do not know. I cannot judge the behavior of great men. But here is the king himself.
So, you dare come back. Why? How brazen of you to come to my house. You murderer. Do you think I do not know that you plotted to kill me? Plotted to steal my throne? Tell me, in God's name, am I a coward, a fool, that you should dream you could accomplish this? A fool who could not see your slippery game? A coward not to fight back when I saw it? You are the fool, Creon, are you not? Hoping without support or friends to get a throne? Thrones may be won or lost. You can do neither.
Now listen to me. You have talked, let me talk too. You cannot judge unless you know the facts.
speak well. There is one fact, but I find it hard to learn from the deadliest enemy I have.
That above all I must dispute with you.
That above all I will not hear you deny.
If you think there is anything good in being stubborn against all reason, then I say you are wrong.
If you think a man can sin against his own kind and not be punished for it, I say you are mad.
I agree. But tell me, what have I done to you?
You advise me to send for that wisdom, did you not?
I did. I should do it again.
Very well. Now tell me, how long has it been since Laius,
What up, liars?
since he vanished in that onset by the road?
It was long ago, a long time.
And this prophet, was he practicing here then?
He was, and with honor as an act.
Did he speak of me at that time?
He never did, at least not when I was present.
But the inquiry, I suppose you held one?
We did, but we learned nothing.
Why did the prophet not speak against me?
I do not know. And I'm the kind of man who holds his tongue when he has no facts to go on.
There's one fact that you know, and you can tell it.
And what fact is that? If I know it, you shall have it.
If he were not involved with you, he could not say that it was I who murdered Laius.
If he says that, you are the one that knows it. But now it is my turn to question you.
Put your questions. I am no murderer.
First then, you married my sister,
I married your sister.
and you rule the kingdom equally with her,
Everything that she wants, she has for me.
and I am the third, equal to both of you.
That is why I call you a bad friend.
No, reason it out, as I have done. Think of this first. Would any sane man prefer power with all a king's anxieties to that same power in the grace of sleep? Certainly not I. I've never longed for the king's power, or with his rights. Would any wise man defer me from this? As matters stand, I have my way in everything, with your consent and no responsibilities. If I were king, I should be a slave to policy. How could I desire a scepter more than what is now mine? Untroubled influence? No, I have not been mad. I need no honors, except those with the requestees I have known. I am welcome everywhere. Every man salutes me, and those who want your favor seek my ear, since I know how to manage what they ask. Should I exchange this ease for this anxiety? Besides, no sober mind is treasonable. I hate anarchy. I never would deal with any man who likes it. Test what I've said. Go to the priestess at Delphi. Ask if I've quoted her correctly. And as for this other thing, if I'm found guilty of treason with Tiresias, then sentence me to death. You have my word. It is a sentence I should cast my vote for, but not without evidence. You do wrong when you take good men for bad, bad men for good. The true men thrown aside. Why life itself is not more precious? In time you will know this well, for time and time alone will show you the just man. No scoundrel will discovered in the day.
Sarah?
This is well said, and a prudent man would ponder it. Judgments too quickly formed are dangerous.
But is he not quick in his duplicity? And shall I not be quick to parry him? Would you have me stand still, hold my peace, and let this man win everything through my inaction?
And you want, what is it then? To banish me?
No, not exile. It is your death I want, so that all the world may see what treason is.
You will persist then. You will not believe me?
How can I believe you?
Then you are a fool.
To save myself,
Injustice, think of it.
you are evil incarnate.
But suppose that you were wrong,
Still, I must rule.
but not if you rule badly.
Oh, city.
It is my city, too.
Now, my lords, be still. I see the queen Becost coming from her palace chambers, and this time she came for the sake of you both. This dreadful quarrel can be resolved through her.
Poor foolish man, what wicked den is this? With thieves sick to death, is it not shameful that you should take some bribe of vanilla, come into the house, and you, Creon, go now. Let us have no more of this tumult over nothing.
No, sister, what your husband plans for me is one of two great evils, exile or death.
He is right. Why, woman? I have caught him squarely plotting against my life.
No, let me die, a curse if I ever wished you harm.
Ah, believe it, Oedipus. In the name of the gods, respect this oath of his for my sake, for the sake of these people here.
Okay, so let's just chill out for a bit, see what just happened. When we hear exile, so he says one of the two great evils, exile or death. I remember, if you guys saw the third Batman, those were the two options. Who here has seen that third Batman movie, the Christopher Nolan one with Bane? Remember the trial, the kangaroo court? What are the two options they give him?
Oh, crap.
Exile or death. So exile is having to walk on the ice, blah, blah, blah. It's tough because everybody nowadays, I think, would say exile. Okay, I'll take that one. You know, anything's better than death. We have to think of the context, right? If I told you that you are banished, you can never set foot in the GTA again. You just can't. If you do, you'll be arrested and killed. You might think, okay, well, I'll just, I guess, walk to the next city. Okay, well, that's also going to be tough. Look at the weather outside. You're just going to have to walk. You're just not allowed to set foot within the city limits. And it's not like the next city would just take you on. If they hear you're exiled because you plotted to kill the king of that other city, they're probably not going to open their doors to you either. So exile it's a major league punishment, right? It's not much better than death. So Oedipus is not messing around here. He goes straight to death for Creon. And so we have Creon who's trying to defend himself here. He's using logic. What's Oedipus what's his state of mind? How would you guys describe him right now?
Right? He's like, if it's not Creon, then it's no one. Creon is the guy.
It's got to be Creon.
Stubborn, arrogant.
Stubborn, arrogant. Do you think he's being reasonable or no?
No.
I think he's paranoid. He wants to find the answer.
He
Paranoid?
has to blame other people.
Got to blame other people.
He
Okay.
subconsciously knows it's him.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Freud over here. Okay, so that's we got Oedipus. So the chorus here. What's the chorus doing in this scene? So they pipe up a couple of times. When they do talk, what are they trying to do here? What are they trying to make things like? Sarah, you read for the chorus. What were you talking about, Sarah, when you were talking? Does anybody have an idea? Aisha, do you have an idea? No? So when the chorus is speaking, they're
Sorry. Sorry.
Christina, do you have an idea?
I'm not sure, but I think maybe the course is speaking on how the two people are thinking and what are they planning to do or what is happening.
So
Kind of the mediator.
Mediator. Okay, so that will come right now. So when they do the odes, that's when they do the kind of two minds thing. But they're mediators. So they have these two guys who are fighting, and now it's nobody's mentioned the plague in a whole scene. Now we're just talking about, is Creon the killer or is Oedipus the killer, right? And so the course, guys, people are still dying here. In the few seconds you guys have been talking, 20 people probably just dropped dead. So can we kind of get back to, not just accusing people without evidence? Let's just try to bring it down, be reasonable. Jocasta, similar. She comes in and it's guys, everybody just calm down, all right? One might say she brings in a female touch. These guys are being hotheads. She comes in, cools them down. She almost sounds, ironically, kind of like a mother.
Oh, yeah.
That's an interesting one. Oedipus is going all crazy, having a little bit of a temper tantrum. Jocasta comes in and she's like, come back into the house, son.
Why do you say it like that? There's no J.
What's that? Okay, so we can talk about
Is
this.
it a J?
So it is pronounced Jocasta. I and J have an interesting relationship in the English language. I believe J came out of I because we needed to make that sound. I'll look up the actual history. But when you see it as Iacasta, it's actually Jocasta. That's how the I is pronounced.
Okay.
So she comes in. She's trying to mediate between these two guys. Everybody just settle down. So these are the states of mind that everybody's in. This is what we're going with. So now let's go into the ode here. So the strophe. So the chorus. So Sarah, we're going to do just like we did yesterday. Sarah will start us off. Christina, Ria, Thomas, and then Aisha, and then we'll just cycle through. Okay, start us off.
Open your mind to her, my lord. Be ruled by her, I beg you.
What would you have me do?
Respect Creon's word. He has never spoken like a fool, and now he has sworn an oath.
You know what you ask?
I do.
Speak on then.
A friend so sworn should not be baited so, in blind malice and without final proof.
You are aware, I hope, that what you say means death for me, or exile at least.
No, I swear by Helios first in heaven. May I die friendless and accursed, the worst of death, if ever I meant that. It is the withering fields that hurt my sick heart. Must we bear all these ills, and now your bad blood as well?
Then let him go, and let me die, if I must, or be driven by him in shame from the land of Thebes. It is your happiness, and not his talk, that touches me. As for him, wherever he goes, hatred will follow him.
Ugly and yielding, as you were ugly in rage. Natures like yours chiefly torment themselves.
Can you not go? Can you not leave me?
I can't. You do not know me, but the city knows me, and in its eyes I am just, if not in yours.
Lady Jocasta, did you not ask the king to go to his chambers?
On top of page 123.
First, tell me what has happened.
There was suspicion without evidence, yet it wrinkled, as even false charges will,
On both sides?
on both.
But what was said?
Oh, let it rest, let it be done with. Have we not suffered enough?
You see to what your decency has brought to me. You have made difficulties where my heart saw none.
Oedipus, it is not once only I have told you. You must know I should count myself unwise to the point of madness, should I now forsake you. You under whose hand, in the storm of another time, our dear land sailed out free, but now stand fast at the helm.
In God's name, Oedipus, for your wife as well. Why are you so set in this hard anger?
You good there, Shatner?
Wow. I will tell you, for none of these men deserves my confidence as you do. It is Creon's work, his treachery, his plotting against me.
Go on, if you can make this clear to me.
He charges me with the murder of Lilas.
Has he some knowledge? Or does he speak from hearsay?
He will not commit himself to such a charge, but he has brought in that damnable soothsayer to tell his story.
Set your mind at rest. If it is a question of soothsayers, I tell you that you will find no man whose craft gives knowledge of the unknowable. Here is my proof. An oracle was reported to Laios once. I will not say from Phoebus himself, but from his appointed ministers at any rate, that his doom would be death in the hands of his own son, the son born of his flesh shall be mine. Now you remember the story. Laios was killed by strangers where 3 ways meet. But his child had not been 3 days in this world before the king had pierced the baby's ankle and led him to die on a lonely mountainside. Thus Apollo never caused that child to kill his father, and it was not Laios' fate to die at the hands of his son, as he had feared. This is what prophets and prophecies are worth. Have no dread of them. It is God himself who can show us what he wills in his own way.
How strange a shadowy memory crossed my mind. Just now, while you were speaking, it chilled my heart.
What do you mean? What memory do you speak of?
My understanding, Lilas was killed at a place where 3 roads meet.
So it was said. We have no date of latter story.
Where did it happen?
Focus.
Focus. It is called at a place where the Theban way divides into 3 roads towards Delphi and Dahlia.
When?
We had the news not long before you came, and proved the right to your succession here.
Ah, what net has God been weaving for me?
Oedipus, why does this trouble you?
Do not ask me yet. First, tell me how Lilas looked, and tell me how old he was.
He was tall, his hair just touched with white. His form was not unlike your own.
I think that I myself may be accursed by my own ignorant edit.
You speak strangely. It makes me tremble to look at you, king.
I am not sure that the blind man cannot see, but I should know better if you were to tell me.
Anything? Though I dread to hear you ask.
Was the king lightly escorted, or did he ride with a large company as a relation?
A large company. There were 5 men with him in all. One was herald and a single chariot, which he was driving.
Alas, that makes it plain enough. But who? Who told you how it happened?
Household servant, the only one to escape.
And is he still a servant of ours?
No, but when he came back at last and found you enthroned in the place of the dead king, he came to me, touched my hand with his and begged that I would send him away to the frontier district, where only the shepherds lived, as far away from the city as I could send him. I granted his prayer, for although the man was a slave, he had earned more than this favor at my hands.
Can he be called back quickly?
Easily, but why?
I have taken too much upon myself without inquiry. Therefore, I wish to consult him.
Then he shall come. But am I not one also, to whom you might confide these fears of yours?
That is your right. It will not be denied to you. Now, least of all, for I have reached a pitch of wild foreboding. Is there anyone to whom I should sooner speak? Polybus of Corinth is my father. My mother is a Dorian, Miro. I grew up chief among these men, of course, until a strange thing happened. Not worth my passion, it may be but strange. At a feast, a drunken man, maundering in his cups, cries out that I am not my father's son. I contained myself that night, though I felt angry and a sinking heart. The next day, I visited my father and mother to question them. They stormed, calling it all the slanderous rant of a fool. And this relieved me. The suspicion remained, always aching in my mind. I knew there was talk, I could not rest. And finally, saying nothing to my parents, I went to the shrine at Delphi. The god dismissed my question without reply. He spoke of other things. Some were clear, full of wretchedness, dreadful, unbearable. Asked that I should lie with my own mother, breed children from whom all men would turn their eyes, and that I should be my father's murderer. I heard all this and fled, and from that day, Corinth to me was only in the stars, descending in that quarter of the sky. As I wandered further and further on my way to a land where I should never see the evil sung by the oracle, and I came to this country where, so you say, King Laius was killed. I will tell you all that happened there, my lord. There were 3 highways, coming together at a place I passed, and there a herald came towards me in a chariot, drawn by horses with men such as you described. Seated in it, the groom leading the horses forced me off the road at his lord's command. But as this charioteer lurched over towards me, I struck him in my rage. The old man saw me and brought his double goad down upon my head. As I came abreast, he was laid back and more. Swinging my club in this right hand, I knocked him out of his car and he rolled on the ground. I killed him. I killed them all. Now, if that stranger were Laius, if that stranger and Laius were king, where is a man more miserable than I, more hated by the gods, citizen and alien alike, must never shelter me or speak to me. I must be shunned by all. I myself pronounce this malediction upon myself. Think of it. I have touched you with these hands that killed your husband. What defilement! And I, all evil then, it must be so, since I must flee from Thebes, yet never again see my own country, for fear of joining my mother in marriage, and killing Polybus, my father. Ah, if I was created so, born to this fate, who could deny the savagery of God? O holy majesty of heavenly powers, may I never see that day, never. Rather, let me vanish from the ranks of men than know the abomination of destiny.
We too, my lord, have felt dismay at this, but there is hope. You have yet to hear from the shepherd.
Indeed, I fear no other hope is left for me.
What do you hope from him when he comes?
This much, if his account of the murder tallies with yours, then I am clear.
What was it that I said of such importance?
Why? Marauders, he said, killed the king, according to this man's story. If he maintains that still, if there were several, clearly the guilt is not mine. I was alone. But if he says one man single-handedly did it, then the evidence all points to me.
You may be sure that he said there were several. And can he call back that story now? He cannot. The whole city heard it as plainly as I. But suppose he alters some detail of it. He cannot ever show that Laios is dead, fulfilled the oracle. For Apollo said my child was doomed to kill him, and my child, it was my child. The plate, she can see that. It was my child that died first. No, from now on, where oracles are concerned, I would not waste a second thought on any.
You may be right. But come, let someone go for the shepherd at once. This matter must be settled.
I will send for him. I would not wish to cross you in anything, and surely not in this. Let us go.
Okay, let's just pause there. Long scene. What happens? Who was following? What do you think, Ashley? What did you think of that scene? Good scene or bad scene? Good, good. Very good. That's true. They were talking.
Mikasa told him about what happened to her son.
Yep. Okay. Anybody want to add on?
I feel the whole scene is filled with like dramatic irony vibes. You know?
Why is that?
Because we kind of know that he is her son, and he killed his father.
Yeah. So
He's still trying to figure this out, although things point clearly that he did it.
He's too stupid.
why doesn't he put it
They
together?
have the same prophecy. Oh, maybe we're the same person.
It's fair enough.
I killed the guy at the same place that this guy didn't really die.
So
And this child has the same prophecy that I got.
Maybe I'm the child. Two and two together, 11.
So it's true that Ashley says why is he still kind of persisting? Why is he still messing around? What do you think, Pat?
If it is true, then he's done for. So
Yeah, this isn't a really light matter. It's not like he's holding on to any okay, so let's be real here, okay? So one of the things that makes Oedipus a hero in some people's perspectives is that he pursues the truth no matter what. You think that that's a small thing, but any one of us can just look to our life right now, today. There are lots of things that we're not looking at because they're too horrible for us to think about. There are lots of things that we put off. And you can see more and more. I mean, you can look at the media again. If you were going to find out a truth that would utterly destroy you, probably even kill you, like we're not messing, like kill you and nobody would want to bury you in any respectable grave. So not only are you dead, but your reputation is completely destroyed.
Gatsby.
Even worse than Gatsby. Because at least, Gatsby, then nobody just showed up. I mean, Gatsby didn't die, and then everybody also hated him after he was dead. They just didn't really care. You're dead, and everybody hates you because you're an evil monster. Yesterday, like a few hours ago, you were the savior, and then, so I mean, that's what Oedipus is pursuing here. Most of us, if we get a bad grade on a test, we want, who's the first person we're going to blame? The teacher. So I mean, we get a bad grade on an essay. Who's the first person we're going to blame?
Teacher.
That's the simplest truth. If we just say, well, you know what? I mean, I didn't fill out half the test. I didn't study the night before. I haven't been studying all semester. Maybe there's a different truth to this. I mean, that's the most basic. There's not even a consequence to that. And yet people can't seem to face that truth. We have Oedipus here who's still pursuing it. It's true that he's trying to take whatever strand he can get. And it's like, why don't you just, face up to the fact? That's a good lesson. Why don't we all just face up to the facts? Let's see what Oedipus does. Okay, so they're going back and forth. Jocasta's saying, listen, everybody in the city heard it already. This was 15 years ago. Even if the guy changes it now, I mean, everybody heard it at the time. It was multiple people. It couldn't be you, right? So Oedipus could take that road out. He could. He really could. I mean, this is what's at stake, is his life and his reputation. Both, right? That's what's in the balance here for Oedipus. And yet to use a term, and yet he persisted. And yet he's persisting. He's going to try to find the truth no matter what, even if it destroys him.
Sir, how old is Oedipus?
It's a good question. These plays are actually kind of odd. So there's
35.
I mean, maybe, I mean,
So his mother would be like 60.
so no, it's probably the case. No. So, I mean, in ancient Greek times, in these times, it's not like people dated within 3 years of each other, like they do now. So, I mean, you have Creon, who's a king. He probably was an older man, and then or Elias. Oh, geez, there you go. You have Laius, who's a king. Jocasta is probably significantly younger than him,
14.
right? So I mean, because yeah. I mean, I don't know. Maybe we have to look to what the ancient Greek kind of dating rules were, or marrying rules. So it's probably the case that Oedipus and Jocasta aren't that disparate in age. She might have been 16 or 18 when she had him. So it's odd, it's weird. But again, the people aren't they're not dating for aesthetics. She's the queen. He became the king. Ipso facto, they become husband and wife. So it is weird. She's going to be older than him, but it's not as weird. Yeah. Okay, it's still weird. It is as weird. It's not at all. Okay, so let's continue on. The bottom of page 125, starting with the chorus.
Let me be reverent in the ways of right. Lowly the paths I journey on. Let all my words and actions keep the laws of the pure universe, from highest heaven handed down. From heaven is your bright nurse. Those generations of the realms of light, never of mortal time were they begot, nor are their slaves of memory lost in sleep. Their Father is greater than time and ages not.
Aisha? Because we went back to Sarah, even though we were going through the rows here.
Oh,
So it's
sorry.
see you there.
Is a child of pride, who drinks from his great sickening cup, recklessness and vanity, until from his high crest headlong he plummets to the dust of hope. That strong man is not strong, but let no fair ambition be denied. May God protect the wrestler for the state and government. In commonly policy, we will fear God and on his ordinance.
Highness and the high hand of this state tempt and outrage God's holy law, and any mortal who dares hold no mortal power at all will be caught up in a net of pain. The price for which his liberty is sold. Let each man take due earnings, then and keep his hands from holy things, and from blasphemy stand apart, else the crackling blast of heaven blows on his head and on his desperate heart. Though fools will honor impious men, in their city no tragic poet sings.
Shall we lose faith in Delphi's obscurities? We who have heard the world's core, discredited at the sacred wood, but Zeus and Alice praise no more. The deeds and the strange prophecies must make a pattern yet soon understood. Zeus, if indeed you are Lord of all, throned in light over night and day, mirror this in your endless mind. Our masters call the oracle, words on the wind and Delphic vision blind. Their hearts no longer know Apollo. Reverence for God, for the gods, has died away.
Okay, so it's becoming more tense. What's going to happen? The antistrophe 1 there and the strophe 2. It's interesting. It's very timely. So let's look at the last 2 lines of strophe 2 there. Though fools will honor impious men in their cities, no tragic poet sings. Fools will honor impious. So what does impious mean, first of all?
Retirement.
We say retirement?
Tyrant.
Tyrant. So just what is the word impious? So when you think of the word pious, what does that mean?
Pious means something bad, no?
Pious means something good. It means... What's that?
Strong in belief.
Yes, exactly. Strong in belief. Somebody who's observes their religion faithfully. And so if you're impious, you're the opposite. You're somebody who doesn't.
Respect to God and stuff?
Exactly. You're not, so you don't show respect to the traditions of the religion at least. And so, but respect to God. So though fools will honor impious men in their cities, no tragic poet sings. Okay? So what is that saying? So so fools will honor people who aren't good, impious men. Okay, fair enough. We're not always going to have the best rulers. You're not going to have a great city, though. So it's let's be real here. It's true. Not everybody's going to vote for the best person or not going to make the best people king. Does anybody want to deny that? Would anybody seriously make the claim that all of the leaders of nations have all been great men, all of them? Would anybody make that claim? No. So what can we say? It's true, okay, bad men might make it to positions of power, but in their cities, no tragic poet sings. So you guys are thinking about justice over in this group. When we think of justice, what's a working definition? We think, it's a really big question, I know. When you think justice, what do you think? Yeah.
Equality and fairness.
Fairness, equality. So, I mean, roughly speaking, it's you get what you deserve. You do something, and a predictable and fair and just outcome is the result. So we say we don't think justice was done if we don't think that there's a result. Somebody shoots somebody in the head on the street, they don't go to jail. That doesn't seem like it's just. There's a difference between the consequence and the action, right? So, I mean, it seems to me that the court is still holding out hope that some justice will be done. That even though impious or bad men might come to rule, there will be the result that their cities are going to crumble, right? They won't be good places to live. Okay.
Is Oedipus really a bad man?
That's a good question. I throw it back to you. And we have to finish scene 3.
He's a murderer.
We have 10 minutes. We have to read scene 3. It's about 1 page. So, Jocasta, let's get another Jocasta. Rivoli. We're changing everybody for this scene. Rivoli or Jocasta. Let's get a messenger. Joyce will be the messenger. Jocasta, messenger. Oedipus. Calvin. I think that's it. Jocasta, messenger, Oedipus.
What about Shirapis?
Okay. Go for it.
Bearing these branches as a supplement and this incense. Our king is not himself. His noble soul is overwrought with fantasies of dread. Else he would wonder when he considered the new prophecies in the light of the old. He will listen to any voice that speaks disaster, and my advice goes for nothing. To you then, Apollo, Lycian Lord, since you are nearest, I turn in prayer. Receive these offerings and grant us deliverance. From the cloud, our hearts are heavy with fear. When we see our leader distracted as helpless sailors, are terrified by the confusion of their helpsmen.
Friends, no doubt you can direct me. Where shall I find the house of Oedipus? Or better still, where is the king himself?
Sorry. It is this very place, stranger. He is inside. This is his wife and mother of his children.
I wish you happiness in a happy house, blessed in all the fulfillment of your marriage.
I wish as much as for you. Your courtesy deserves a like to good name, good fortune. But now tell me, why have you come? What have you to say to us?
Good news, my lady, for your house and your husband.
What news? Who sent you here?
I am from Corinth. The news I bring ought to bring joy for you, though it may be you will find some grief in it.
What is it? How can it touch us in both ways?
The word is that the people of the Isthmus intend to call Oedipus to be their king.
But old King Polybus, is he not reigning still?
No. Death holds him in the sepulchre.
What are you saying? Polybus is dead?
If I am not telling the truth, may I die myself?
Go quickly. Tell this to your master. All rulers of God's will, where are you now? This was the man whom Oedipus long ago feared so, fled so in dread of destroying him. But it was another fate by which he died.
Dearest Jocasta, why have you sent for me?
Listen to what this man says and then tell me, what has become of the solemn prophecies?
Who is this man? What is his news for me?
He has come from Corinth to announce your father's death.
Is it true, stranger? Tell me in your own words.
I cannot say more clearly. The king is dead.
Was it by treason or by an attack of illness?
A little thing brings old men to their rest.
It was sickness, then.
Yes, and his many years.
Ah, why should a man respect the Pythian heart, or give heed to the birds that jangle above his head? They prophesied that I should kill Polybus, kill my own father, but he is dead and buried, and I am here. I never touched him, never, unless he died of grief for my departure, and thus, in a sense, through me. No, Polybus has packed the oracles off with him underground. They are empty words.
Had I not told you so?
You had. It was my faint heart that betrayed me.
From now on, never think of those things again.
And yet, must I not fear my mother's bed?
Why should anyone in this world be afraid? Since fate rules us and nothing can be foreseen, a man should live only for the present day. Have no more fear of sleeping with your how many men in dreams have lain with their mothers. No reasonable man is troubled by such things.
That is true. If only my mother were not still alive. But she is alive. I cannot help my dread.
Yet this news of your father's death is wonderful.
Wonderful, but I fear the living woman.
Tell me, who is this woman that you fear?
It is Merope, man, the wife of King Oedipus,
Merope, why should you be afraid of her?
an oracle of the gods, a dreadful saying.
Can you tell me about it, or are you sworn to silence?
I can tell you, and I will. Apollo said that his prophet, that I was the man who should marry his own mother, shed his father's blood with his own hands, and so, for all these years, I've kept clear of court, and no harm has come. Though it would have been sweet to see my parents again.
And is this the fear that drove you out of Corinth?
Would you have me kill my father?
As for that, you must be reassured by the news I gave you.
If you could reassure me, I would reward you.
I had that in mind. I will confess. I thought I could count on you when you returned to Corinth.
No, I will never go near my parents again.
Son, you still do not know what you are doing.
What do you mean? In the name of God, tell me.
If these are your reasons for not going home,
I tell you, I fear the oracle may come true.
and guilt may come upon you through your parents.
That is the dread that is always in my heart.
Can you not see that all your fears are groundless?
Groundless? Am I not my parents' son?
Oedipus was not your father.
Not my father.
No more your father than the man speaking to you.
Well, you are nothing to me.
Neither was he.
Then why did he call me son?
I will tell you. Long ago he had me from my hands as a gift.
Then how could he love me so? For I was not his.
He had no children, and his heart turned to you.
What of you? Did you find me? Did you find me by chance?
I came upon you in the woody vales of Dorian,
And what were you doing there?
tending my flocks.
A wandering shepherd?
But you saved your son that day.
Well, what did you save me?
Your ankle should tell you that.
Ah, stranger. Why do you speak of that child with pain?
I pulled the spoor that pinned your feet together.
I've had the marks as long as I can remember.
That was why you were given the name you bear.
God, was it my father or my mother who did it? Tell me!
I do not know. The man who gave you to me can tell you better than I.
It was not you that found me, but another?
It was another shepherd who gave you to me.
Who was he? Can you tell me who he was?
I think he was said to be one of Laia's people.
You mean the Laius who was king here years ago?
Yes, King Laius. And the man was one of his herdsmen.
Is he still alive?
Can I see?
Is he still alive?
Is he still alive?
Is he still alive?
Sorry.
These men here know best about such things.
Does anyone here know the shepherd that he is talking about? Have you seen him in the fields or in the town? If you have, tell me. It's time things were made plain.
I think the man he means is the same shepherd. You have already asked me to see. Jacoste, perhaps. Could tell you something.
Do you know anything about him, lady? Is he the man we have summoned? Is that the man the shepherd needs?
Why think of him? Forget this herdsman. Forget it all. This talk is a waste of time.
How can you say that? When the clues to my true birth are in my hands.
For God's love, let us have no more questioning. Is your life nothing to you? My own pain, my own is pain enough for me to bear.
You need not worry. Suppose my mother is slave, and born of slaves. No baseness can touch you.
Listen to me, I beg you. Do not do this thing.
I will not listen. The truth must be made known.
Everything that I say is for your own good.
My own good snaps my patience. Then I want none of it.
You are fatally wrong. May you never learn who you are.
Go, one of you, bring the shepherd here. Let us leave this woman to brag of her royal name.
Ah, miserable. That is the only word I have for you now. That is the only word I can ever have.
Why has she left us, Oedipus? Why has she gone? In such a passion of sorrow, in fear of this silence, something dreadful may come of it.
Let it come. However base my birth, I must know about it. The queen, like a woman, is perhaps ashamed to think of my low origin. But I am a child of luck. I cannot be dishonored. Luck is my mother. The passing months, my brothers, have seen me rich and poor. If this is so, how could I wish that I were someone else? How could I not be glad to know my birth?
Okay, so we'll start at the back. Aisha?
You start with the chorus strophe. Page 129. Top left.
Ever the kind of time when the rich
Kithiron.
Now by heaven I see the torches at the festival of the next full moon, and see the dance, and hear the choir sing a grace to your gentle shade. Mountains where Oedipus was found, a mountain god of a noble race, may the God who heals us lend his aid, and let thy glory come to pass for our King's credit.
Of the nymphs that flower beyond the years, the Boreal, royal child, the Pan of the hills, or Timberline Apollo, cold in July for the upland clears, or Hermes, for whom Kylene's height are piled, or flushed as evening clouds, great Dionys, roamer of mountains. Was it he who found you there and caught you up in his own proud arms from the sweet god Rapture, who laughed by muses?
Okay. All right, so we have about 2 minutes. Yeah, so we'll continue tomorrow. Just let that sit. Have a good nap for 2 minutes, perhaps.